What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here in this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, guys, the more I think about LAN 1.5, I'm actually getting kind of excited about how much of an impact grain purchases in the beginning and time crystals can be. So let's actually go to time crystals first. And this is something that we were doing on the live stream earlier today. So if you watch it, you already know where I'm going with this, but we have about 4,600 occupied plots in total, again, across all rarities. And when I was running the math on this, what I realized is that if, these occupied plots, even the occupied commons, they're going to require, I believe it's 9 million production points in order to completely clear them from the get-go, right? So this is where time crystals come in, because if time crystals are used on all of the occupied plots, and I think for anybody that's trying to chase the SPS yield early, if you have an occupied plot, I wouldn't be surprised if people try to go and take advantage of that right away, clear it, and then start earning that SPS. Well, you take a look at that, and all of a sudden, we'd be burning over 400 million time crystals. 400 million DEC from the time crystals that would be required for that. Now, granted, there's a lot of time crystals out there already, and I'm sure, large region holders or tract holders, you can take time crystals from a lot of your other plots and apply them on. But at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is, if we're just looking at occupied, that would burn up a ton of time crystals. And if everybody else is trying to get all of their other, 100,000 plots, there's 127,000 total plots, right? So if you're trying to get the other 100 and something thousand plots good to go, because keep in mind, you won't be earning grain either, right? So that's the second part of this. If you're just trying to get it to a point where you can either self-sustain or you just want to start earning SPS right away, those time crystals are going to come in handy. And if we're going to burn potentially 400 million DEC worth of time crystals on just occupied plots, obviously we're not, but even if we do 25% of that, 100 million, 150 million, whatever it is, right? That would be significant considering where we're at from a DEC perspective. Now, the other part of this, and I know this will probably get some pushback, and rightfully so, is the inefficiencies on the grain side. Excuse me. So when we're looking at grain, obviously, I think a lot of people, myself included, and myself first and foremost, are not really planning ahead in the way that someone like Virus is, where you're looking at your production and seeing how much you're going to produce with each of your plots and how many plots you're going to need to supply grain to the rest of your plots, especially if you're going heavier production on those other plots. So I actually think there's going to be a lot of inefficiencies early on with LAN 1.5. Compound that with the fact that it'll be difficult to do peer-to-peer trades since there's no automated market maker. There's no DEC grain liquidity pool until 1.6 at the earliest is what we're hearing. And the inefficiencies just compound from there, because people will, if they can't find DEC for cheap, if people aren't selling, not DEC, but grain, if people can't find grain for cheap from, someone in their region or somebody who's willing to sell, I think the P2P transactions will actually be quite active. But if they can't find it, then they're going to go and just buy it off of the marketplace. And I do think that is going to be something that burns a lot of DEC, because one grain is worth one DEC. And that is set very high by design, right? By default. So again, these two things are, in my opinion, going to help burn a significant amount of DEC, especially early on, until we can find some kind of equilibrium. Now, how much they end up burning, I don't know, but the time crystals gives me a little bit of a gauge where I think it's going to be in the hundreds of millions of DEC. Again, maybe that's being optimistic, right? It could be optimistic, but if 400 million DEC worth of time crystals is needed just for the occupied plots, granted, there's already a lot of time crystals out in circulation, I still think that's a significant amount to consider when you're looking at how much of a supply we have overall, right? So we have 4.6 billion. We have over 100 million DEC in the DAO already. The team is holding some. We have some in liquidity pools. We have some in, in the bridges. So overall, we're sitting at about 2.7 billion. And again, like I said, I don't want to redo the calculations here because we did it live on stream, but 2.7 billion liquid DEC. Okay, liquid DEC that's not in any of the that's not in the bridges, that's not in the liquidity pools. So 2.7 billion is actually less than 40% of land utilization, and it doesn't count how much we would be burning from all of those early transactions for time crystals and grain. It also doesn't count how much we'd be burning in case the market starts to pick up. It also doesn't count how much we'd be locking up as, essentially between now and whenever land comes out in terms of Rift Watcher sales in the DAO. So there's a lot more to go, but 2.7 billion and counting seems to be a good sign because, like I said, I don't think we need land utilization to be super, super high in the beginning. I'd like to see 40%. I think 40% would be phenomenal, but I'm kind of like leaning like 20 to 30% range. If we can get to that 20 to 30% range, which would be like 1.5 to 2.25 billion DEC, staked DEC, right? Then at that point, I think we'd be set in terms of all the other burn mechanisms that'll be coming into place, and the lack of liquidity that is out there could help to shoot DEC up in overall value back to peg. But that's kind of where my head is at with this. Would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. So here's the thing. Are you planning A, on using time crystals, and B, are you planning on farming enough grain with your plots in order to support your other plots, right? Anything that's going to be going for research or for SPS. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll catch you all in the next video and see you around the game. Take care.